Hey there YouTube, thanks for coming back and watching my next video. If you've seen my previous video, you'll know that I bit the bullet and purchased one of the APS gas-powered pump-action shotguns, which I'm just over the moon with. And after having done quite a little bit of research online just regarding the shells and the cartridges, I thought I would put something together and show you just what I've been up to, just to show you how I am filling these up. The hulls, the empty plastic shell, they are all the same shape and size. So if you're using Gen 1, 2 or 3, if you're using Smart Shell X Power, which is what I'm using here, they all use exactly the same thing. Now the manufacturers APS sell these little sabo kits, wads, umbrellas, whatever you want to call them, with little circular wads cut into them. They're not cheap, 13 quid for a pack of 50. So in the packet you get some pre-cut circles, and that's the wads, and these bits which are like a cup which project your BBs out of the barrel. So their theory is, and the way to use them is to use your sabo, that black bit, and push it into the cartridge, fill it with beebs and put the cap on top. Now, inadvertently, I bought the wrong ones, and I bought the black bits, those wads there, for the standard shells, not the X Power. X Power cartridges have a larger gas chamber to them, which needs a shorter wad. So, having been mucking about with this and being a typical tight Scotsman, £13 for 100's an awful lot of money, so I've made my own wads out of cornflake packets, steak pie boxes, etc. Okay, it doesn't have a fancy skull on the top, but it's got a little chunk of steak pie. And yay, let's shoot you with steak pie. So, what I did was I used my wife's Cricut to knock up several of the wads, a few hundred there, 18mm, but I'll show you a couple of different options that I've been using. So you see how far the gas valve chamber, the base, goes up into the cartridge. You would put the black wad on top of that inside the shell and then fill it with BBs. And the way that the manufacturers would suggest that you do it is pop that into the cartridge, push it down so as it's just below. There's a little recess just inside the top edge of the cartridge there. I don't know if you can see the line, and that's where the cardboard wad cap would sit to keep the BBs in place. Then screw it onto your filled gas chamber and screw everything nice and tight. Now, what I've noticed is, because I've bought the wrong plastic, you can just see the petals of the black wad protruding from the top of the purple hull. So what I thought to do was, it was protruding by about 2 or 3mm, is just to cut the tips, the round part of the petals off, just to give me some space to still utilise that and see how it works. So, having cut them flush, it's now well below the edge of the hull, and when you screw the cartridge in, it will then push the petals of the hull to its proper resting position. Now, the good thing about the black wads there is that they have a nice little dome at the bottom of them, so you can see now that that's shy of the edge of the cartridge hull, which then allows you space to get the cardboard cap in quite nicely. So you would fill that with BBs and click that into place. Now, filling it with BBs is a bit of mucking about. This loadout will allow 11 beebs in there, so pop in 5 into a sort of floral pattern, then drop 1 into the middle, and then in the gaps between the original 5, pop in another 5, and just space them out so you've got the optimal space in the cartridge there to hold as many BBs as possible for that configuration. A little gentle pat down just into place, don't want to push them too hard, and nice and neat, and then get your cap. It's important what side up you have it. Squeeze that just gently into place, so just a little bit of caressing, get one of the edges in. Sorry, this has just gone off camera slightly, and the benefits of having a little bit of fingernail there just to help tease the edges of the cardboard down into the recess around the rim of the cartridge hull. So pop it in, tease it round, just turning it gently using my fingernail just to push it into position, and a nice tight load in there, and looks pretty effective. So I thought £13 for some of those. My wife has an amazing little machine called a Cricut, which is cutting the 18mm circles here for me out of a piece of cardboard from a cornflake packet, and I can whittle up 100 of these in a minute. Perfectly accurate, perfect to size every single time. It does 2 cuts just to make sure it's through the cardboard, and you can see on my red cartridges there that I have different finishes to them. You know, you could use absolutely anything that comes in a standard sort of food packaging. Reasonably thick cardboard, nothing too thick to take up too much space. So the best way I've found to get these in nice and neat is to gently loading it from the top backwards, is turn the case upside down, pop your cardboard in, get it in relatively flush, and then use something to push it down so that's nicely tapered to fit past the threads inside the hull that the gas chamber will screw into. So push it all the way down, just keep things kind of plumb, and push it down until it hits your work surface there. And it sits in pretty snugly. So hundreds of them knocked up quite easily. Very, very simple to use. And as I say, the nice bit is if you're using something like a cornflakes packet, you might get Tony the Tiger flying towards somebody. Just depends on how the machine has cut it, where the pattern's landed. So push it home. You can see there now that round the edges it's caught into the recess, and it's exactly the same idea, filling up with BBs. So because they're a little bit further down, well, absolutely at the bottom, pop your 5 in, give them a little shake until they form into that petal pattern. Just give them a little tap, then drop one in the middle, and then finish off with your further 5 BBs. So you've got exactly the same optimal placement and load as I did earlier on using the black petal shaped wad. And then after that, you can just see them nestling in there quite neatly. Quite easy to do, and once you've done it a few times it only takes a moment. Get your next bit of cardboard, line it in and push it in past the threads, which are pretty much 3/4 of the way up, and just tucked in neatly behind the BBs in there. So all loaded and ready to fit your gas cartridge. Nice straightforward, screw it together, job's done. So I've been practicing with some of these before I bought the APS petals, and it's something that I'm just going to experiment with. You can see there roughly where the threads are going to stop, so the depth of the black petals, that's roughly where it would sit if you were fitting it in. And when you fit the gas cartridge in there, you can see that the tips of the petals are just protruding over the rim. So you've got to cut them down, and you can just see the right hand side top corner of the screen there that I've been grafting away with a few of them. Decent pair of sharp scissors. It's not a hard plastic, they're very, very soft, very easy to cut. So I'm cutting roughly, let's say maybe 5mm off the end of them. I haven't tested it yet, it's just an idea, but I have noticed that when you're inserting into the shell, there's a lovely seal at the base of the wad there, and you'll see just inside it that's got a nice little dome as well, where the cartridge will, when the firing pin hits the striker in the cartridge, that valve protrudes forward and then the gas escapes. So pushing it in too far and then inserting the gas part of the cartridge, screwing it together, that's then pushing the black part up, and you can see that's nice and neatly just under the recess for the cardboard wad. So just a quick little tidy up there. Again, just pop your BBs in. 5 at first, and dropping 1 into the middle, further 5 on top, and then your selection of either an expensive one or a homemade number. Now you can buy 18mm punches from online retailers, or 3/4 inch, 19mm, so you'd want something that's around about 3/4 of an inch, or if you're using something like a Cricut, 18mm is perfect, which is what I'm using here. So I'll test these out and give you some feedback once it's done. Again, thanks for watching guys, some feedback is appreciated. Take care.